Hey everybody, GP here with another presence tapping video. And I got a comment recently on a video that I did actually a long time ago. I think maybe 8 years ago. Maybe like 8 years ago or more. Because I was actually still living in Florida. I remember doing it where I was standing in the light. Anyway, in that video, and in a lot of videos I made at that time, I talked about the fact that there was no such thing as a negative emotion. And I haven't talked about it a lot recently. And it was pretty controversial when I was saying it at the time, but not as much anymore. But somebody asked me about that, if I could say more about it and do some more tapping. He asked me if I had any other videos about it, which I'll go back and look at some point. At first, I was inspired to do this simply because, this entire channel, the tapping channel, is dedicated to emotional freedom, emotional well-being, emotional health. Perhaps I should tap a little bit on the nature of the emotions themselves and how we can become friends with them rather than fighting with them. So let's start by closing our eyes and taking a couple of deep breaths, making the exhale longer than the inhale. So it slows the whole process down to consciously bring your attention out of the engagement with the outside world and into a more intimate relationship with yourself, the inner world of experience, our subjective world, the place where we feel emotions. And now, with a couple of breaths under your belt, sinking into your body and just being present with yourself, you can begin to start tapping through the points in any way you want. No rules here. Remember, in presence tapping, you do not need to repeat what I have said. You can just let yourself open and go along with it. If anything really resonates with you, just allow that resonance to move through you. If something just doesn't move you at all, just notice that and let it go. And if something difficult comes up, well, notice that too, but don't try to jump right into processing. One of the key aspects in this whole process of emotional healing is to shift in a very significant way our relationships with emotions. With our attention focused inside, we're in the realm where we feel emotions. And that's really important because we want to feel the emotions without interpreting them. Without making up a story about them. Without trying to fix them or change them or process them. There's time for all of that. Right now, we just want to feel them as they are, without them being colored or even distorted by our thoughts and ideas about them. Just feeling. If you've never tried to do this before, it can seem quite odd. Over our entire lives, every feeling we have, we've acquired a set of beliefs about that feeling. These beliefs may have changed over time, most assuredly have. But the moment we have a feeling, immediately, like a reflex, a story or a judgment or an interpretation pops up about it. It happens so fast, we often don't recognize that the feeling and our thoughts about the feeling are not the same. And they're not hardwired. They're not permanently linked. Rather, it's a soft connection that was determined by our conditioning, our experiences. So whatever feeling you might be having right now, it might not be an emotion that's there, but there's always feelings, sometimes very subtle, running through our bodies. Let's see if for a moment you can set aside all the labels for whatever you're feeling. Now, clearly, some emotions, feelings, are more pleasant than others. Set aside any idea that an emotion is negative or even positive. So, without that interpretation, which is purely in thought, it's just an emotion. All emotions serve a purpose. They're all natural. They're there for a reason. They're always reactive. Take, for example, fear. Fear is something we would call a negative emotion. Is it really? If I was in real physical danger, being chased by a bear or something, wouldn't fear and the powerful impulse to act, to run away, that fear motivates, wouldn't that be the absolutely right emotion? Yeah, not pleasant. Wouldn't it be the right one? It wouldn't be negative, would it? So let's just drop all the labels for every feeling that we have. So instead, we can begin to feel them as they are. So even something as powerful as fear, even the emotional and psychological fear that often we'll feel, like anxiety or stress, even when there isn't a imminent physical danger, comes from some past event, isn't that trying to tell us something as well? Isn't that a useful clue, pointer towards where we can really resolve it and find emotional healing? So that fear no longer arises because of past traumas and experiences, but only when there's real danger, which isn't very often, is it? So now just for a bit here, I want you to just feel whatever's going on in your body. It may be quite neutral now. There may be something in your life that's really bothering you and you really want a resolution for. You may even have a lot of joy, a lot of happiness about something. Maybe something really good recently has happened. Obviously, we don't want to throw that emotion out, but let's just feel it. Let's give ourselves permission to just feel with no story. And notice what happens when you just feel without a story behind it. Our interpretations, our judgments, our stories actually perpetuate emotions that we would call negative. They keep bringing it up, bringing attention to it, which the body, of course, responds to with that emotion. It becomes a self-fulfilling loop. So set all of it aside. Like there aren't any such thing as negative emotions. Just natural emotions that have a function. And just no story or interpretation at all. Now, this takes practice because we're so used to this association between our beliefs about our feelings and the feelings themselves. We don't realize that they are not permanently connected. And we can, through practice, disconnect them, disassociate them. And when we do, what we find in that gap is freedom to choose. The freedom to head in another direction. Make a different decision. Emotional freedom. That's the great gift of simply letting go of our ideas and beliefs and assumptions about things and just giving ourselves permission to feel what we're feeling with no story or resistance. Just feel. All right. You can stop tapping now. Keep your eyes closed for a second and just breathe. This is a practice that works with and without tap. Tapping really is an aid, as it is to so many things. Recognizing that my thoughts about events and feelings, that's conditioning. And the feelings themselves, well, they're not the same. And in fact, without the story, they're not troublesome. They just come and they go. They say what they have to say, and then they move on. Take another deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining me on this. This is, and thank you for, I don't remember who it was now, who made that comment that inspired me to do this. I hope you guys got a lot out of that. And I take requests. I am more than happy to take up what people request. The best way to make a request of me so it doesn't get lost in the comments is to send it to tapping@omschool.co. I'll put it right here on the screen for you so you can check it out. Tapping@omschool.co. And that will go right to me. It'll go in a box where I can make sure that I don't miss any. And sometimes I get a bunch around the same subject and I can put them all together. So thank you all. I hope you're enjoying these presence tappings. I hope it's really helpful when you don't have to worry about following along with what's being said, and especially when you're practicing doing tapping by yourself. There can be a lot of anxiety and stress about what do I say? What do I say? Well, the truth is you don't really have to say anything. The tapping is a body-centered modality that it will tend to go where it needs to go. And if you're tapping because something's bugging you, there's a problem, you don't need to talk about it over and over. It's right there. Just feel it. Just feel it. All right. Till next time. Namaste, everybody.